like to bring this Ways and Means meeting to order June 5th at about 4:04 p.m. Dan, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Lutz.
Here.
Duranza.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Kunin.
Here.
Ryder.
Here.
Carrot.
Here.
Warren present.
Okay, before you have minutes of 5/1/18. What is your pleasure?
Motion approved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion?
Yes.
Seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we have the ability for the public to address the committee. Those wishing to do so can step to the podium and state your name. Speak to us. Well, apparently they're not rushing fast enough. So we will move on to petitions and communications. Under item A, we got from the Drain Commissioner a vacancy on your...
Support.
Right, but on your table, you have a revised one which says that they're going to post for the permanent position and for the part-time seasonal position also, which wasn't in the original motion given to you. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what you were voting on. We have a motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You're all set, Mr. Ray. Okay, Court Administrator. Under item B, we have the implementation of the jury management system.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion?
I've been called for jury duty a few times. I just wanted to maybe give you a brief synopsis of what we have to do now if I get called for jury duty. And for the public also.
You'd like a brief synopsis of what you would do?
Yeah.
He wants to volunteer.
That's the idea.
For jury duty, we receive a random list from the Secretary of State, and it's pulled from driver's licenses. So from there, we load it into our current system. We do the same thing with this jury management system. We then set people into panels, and we create 30 panels a month. There's approximately 15 people in a panel. Under the current system, we actually mail out questionnaires, get them back, and then review them, because people can ask for an exemption due to their health, if they're over age 70, if you're a felon, you can't serve, those kinds of things. Under the new system, we're going to go to a one-step process where we put you in a panel, mail you the form, and if you will go online and complete the form instead of mailing it back to us. If you don't have access to a computer, you will be able to return it to us or mail it to us, and we will do it for you. From there, if you are exempted, you would then just be removed from the panel. We won't have to remail back to people putting them in a panel. So we'll save us a step. We're actually going to save some postage, envelopes, and things like that in the project as well. From there, it's just a matter of calling in, and under this system, you'll be able to, I think, receive an email that will tell you that you need to report like Monday at 8 a.m. And then from there, you would be go through the process of being put in the courtroom and maybe put in a panel. Judge can ask questions, the attorneys can ask questions, and if you're seated, you would serve on the panel. The other difference with this system that will be an improvement for us is currently we pay you by check after the end of the month. And in this system, we'll be going to a debit card process, which will save us quite a bit of money, in that when you check in, we give you a debit card. We'll scan your document, check you in, scan the back of the debit card, hand it to you. When you're done with your service, we'll probably tell them within 48 hours, the mileage that you get paid plus your days of service will just be credited to the card. And then we don't have to process checks, mail them, have a checking account, and all those things. So that'll be an improvement for us as well. But as far as what the citizen does with jury duty, it doesn't change, except there's a new system, and it'll be easier for them because they'll be able to go online and enter the information. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, under item C, we have Corporation Counsel. It's the formal transfer of the debt from the city, Bay City, to the county water system facility.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Commissioner Begic?
I was watching the city commission meeting last night. There was talk about the water rates, and they said the water rates are going up, and it's because of the county. So I don't know who can answer that question.
I've already talked to Corporation Counsel Johnson. I too saw it this morning, and not only was it on the news, but scrolling across the bottom of the ensuing coverage later in the program that the city of Bay City might be looking at a 5% increase in water rates due to the county who has raised their rates. Now, I wasn't here or part of that, but I know the commissioners and of course Bob Redmond are aware, and others, of the history of the new water filtration plant that we have. State of the art, it's worked very well, but they had some mechanical issues with some of the equipment out there. And so while some municipalities are looking at, minuscule increases in their water rates, I believe the city of Bay City, because it has a lot of homes and they've lost population, the rates have to be much higher, apparently, than some townships and maybe some of the other municipalities that are involved, with the exception, I believe, of Pinconning Township, correct, Commissioner Durancheck? But I would like to be more proactive than we were with regard to coverage on the softball association issue, which also the blame was directed to the county when literally the only role we had was, out of kindness, agreed with the softball association to maintain the grass and the maintenance of the 4 ball diamonds or 6 ball diamonds that we have. And in the case of the water filtration plant, it was those of you who are trying to be helpful and collaborate with local units from throughout Bay County pledged the full faith and credit of the county for the issuance of the bonds. But that, as we know, even though Bay County Department of Water and Sewer sounds like it's part of our regular county structure, actually is overseen by the Bay County Road Commission, the 3 commissioners that are elected countywide to oversee that Bay County Water and Sewerage Department. So before there's any additional public communications on that issue, I would like to, with consent of the board, communicate with the city manager, as well as the mayor, as well as the commissioners, as well as the local media outlets, so that as they report this, because I'm sure the discussion will heat up before the commission votes on raising those rates, because city residents are my constituents and your constituents are all part of Bay County. And I do get an awful lot of commentary about city residents who feel the electric, city, and sewer rates pose a tremendous burden on them regarding their property tax obligations. So we don't want to take blame for something we have really no role in, from my perspective, but would like to hear from the commission if anybody has any comments. But that's kind of my plan, to try to get ahead of the issue before additional coverage.
Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Herrick and then Commissioner Coonan.
Yeah,
Commissioner
what you said is all true. I don't. My big problem with the city is every time that they go on with something, they seem to get it wrong. It's always the county did this or the county did that, and I find that it's very disturbing that the people in charge at the city don't know who's doing what and what role everybody plays in the whole picture, the big picture, especially with the water department, softball fields, all those things. They consistently got it wrong, and they don't try to make it right, and they're just happy to let it go. And and so it's guys like Tom gets calls and I get calls and Kim gets calls, because we're the city guys, so we're the ones that bear the brunt of it, and it's not right. And I wish they would try to at least understand the way the whole structure works before they just go out and you know, talk to the media. So I don't know if it's them talking to the media or if it's just the media that gets it wrong and assumes that it's Bay County, Bay City is the same thing, and maybe they don't understand, but I don't know. But somebody needs to get it right, and I agree with what you're saying, you know, that we, you know, start making contacts and say, you gotta do this right for a while, because, you know, we're the ones we take a lot of the pressure for things that we have nothing to do with. But we try to help, but sometimes it doesn't always work. Thank you.
Commissioner Kuhn.
Thank you, sir. I was under the impression, let's say there is a increase for whatever mechanical, say it's 5% or 10% or whatever. Everybody, you know, let's say the city's the largest and they have a third of the plant or a third of the system, and everybody else has, you know, equals 100%. That 5% or 10% everybody would pay, whether the city would pay 5% in Bangor and everybody else would still pay the 5%, but it's all based upon how big a part of the system you have. So is it going to be an across-the-board 5% increase for everybody?
It's not my understanding, but Amber, would you have any knowledge on that, or?
The way they set the rate is by unit of water that's utilized. So what they make is a determination as to what the cost is going to be to keep the plant operational and what the cost is going to be to repay the debt, and they divide that by whatever number of units they think is going to be utilized. That is the base rate that is charged from the water facility itself. However, each of the different municipalities has the opportunity at that point in time, when they're charging to their own residents in their local municipality, to charge an administrative fee or to charge a different amount that is, in this particular case for the first half of the year, the city absorbed half of the rate that was put in the prior year. And they've decided that they can't do that now, which is why they're looking at a higher rate increase now. But it's the municipality's determination as to how much the actual end user is going to pay for that particular local municipality.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about the end user. I'm talking about if there is an investment that needs to be made due to something that took place at the plant. Everybody pays their share based upon what their portion of the system is.
Per unit, correct,
All right,
yes.
that's it. But one other thing, and Jim, I agree with you, but you need to be, you can't say the electric department, because the electric department is 20% cheaper than consumers. So
Yeah,
when
they're
you say-
municipal electric.
when you want to say water and sewer,
Yeah,
that's fine,
okay,
but
yeah.
if you throw the electric department in there, you're probably going to get some blowback on that.
Yeah, Commissioner Coonan, I can tell you, having worked with the Municipal Electric Association during my years in the legislature, I know that they are always under the typical rates, and they're doing a good job. I didn't mean to impugn electric rates, but I think with the way the billings come out, I think it's water and sewer seems to get the attention of a lot of city residents. Even former mayors and current commissioners complain to me about their water and sewer rates. Is the electric billing, is that totally separate?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that they have lumped the utilities together, but I realize that Bay City residents do get a great deal on their electric rates compared to the other large utilities and what they assess.
And that's what
So
people,
I've been a
that's what
strong
I try to
supporter.
talk to people when they explain, you know, when they talk about utility rates, they throw the electric, and I said, no, you're not exactly right there. But I think when the city's bond debt is paid off, just like we paid off the ice arena, and when we pay off the ice arena, we subsidize it significantly less. So when they pay off those bonds, which should be coming up pretty soon, I would think, then their sewer rates go down. Their water rates aren't any more significant than most places. It's that sewer rate, the bond we're paying for the refurbishing of that plant about 20 years ago. So when that comes off, then their rates will come more into play with everyone else's.
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure that it wasn't the commissioners that voted to raise the water rates.
Right.
I think it was the municipalities who are the owners of the system probably approved that, their increase in the cost of the water as a result of some exacerbation of some failed equipment with vibration and other things that had to be attended to.
Commissioner Duranczyk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, this started out with a while ago with them pointing the finger, well, it's the county's problem because of the bridges. It's it's the county this, and they're good at pointing fingers, but they don't really come up with solutions. And we've sat down at the table with them. I've attended, a lot of people have attended a lot of their meetings and stuff like this. It's almost like they don't research their things that are going on in other communities. Some of the municipalities that I represent have an automatic ordinance or resolution that if the cost of the water, whatever it is, goes up, your bill automatically goes up at the next billing cycle. It just goes that way. Now, why they didn't have that, I don't know. I'm not a city commissioner. But for them to come out and say, it's the county, I'm tired of hearing it's the county. It's a city, they need to get off their butts and do some research and get this thing done the right way. Thank you.
Commissioner Reiner's next.
So Jim, I guess, just for some clarity, there's a water authority, that's correct. And there's representatives from townships, cities, and the road commission, right?
Well, road commission oversees, Bill Bowles,
And the authority is responsible for setting rates, is that correct?
yes.
And the city has a representative, the city of Bay City has a representative that sits and monitors those rates, and actually, they don't have to all agree. Simple majority would agree to adjust the rates, and it would then would be provided.
That's my understanding.
That's correct? Just so we know where everything's coming, and so people that are watching this would have an idea of how the authority was. Do we know how many representatives sit on that authority?
I haven't researched that or found out when it was voted and who voted yes and who voted no, or if it was unanimous. But I just became aware of it this morning myself at 8 a.m.
Yeah, it would be nice to have that information of who the representatives are and how they voted on this issue and where they give their, I mean, certainly the city had knowledge, probably, I'm guessing maybe, that their representative came back. The county government, well, the water and sewer anyways, department or commission, there was a representative there. It would be nice to have them communicate as well to this body to let us know, so we're not fielding questions that we can't answer. All that information would be very good to have.
Yes, and we're trying to be good partners with the city to, communicate on a regular basis so that we can avoid any, slights or misperceptions, I guess. Sometimes some of the commissioners are quoted in the media, and it's almost, it may be one commissioner who doesn't have a full understanding, but it's broadcast either through electronic or print media, and it reaches, tens of thousands of people that then form an impression. And I know it's the intent of the board, all of you, to work collaboratively with the townships and the cities, municipalities, villages throughout Bay County to try as much as possible to be on the same page and move Bay County forward to make it a more ideal place to live and work and raise a family. The city's problems are our problems too, and however, it can be difficult when, over a period of time, when blame is directed our way, when really what we've tried to do is be a good partner with them, whether it's on maintaining the softball fields in the city-owned park, or whether, in this instance on water rates, the county board, none of you nor I have had any input. I found out about it on television like the public would. But I'd like to get the word to the commissioners and the mayor and the city manager and others, and the media as well, about how it's structured and how it came about. We don't own the system, even though it's called Bay County Water and Sewer. It's because it's located in Bay County and it serves the municipalities in Bay County. The Bay County, you should be commended in helping to make it happen because you put forth your good credit rating for great, fiscal policy over the years. You were able to help float, was it $65 million? Is that in bonds, I believe. Bob, is that? You remember?
Around 50, 60 million.
Oh, 50, yeah, 50, 60 million dollars in bonds that helped the townships and Bay City get this great state-of-the-art water filtration plant and system. It's great water, but again, we just want to make sure we're clear with the media and with the city leaders that you did not vote to raise their water rates. It was something that was addressing infrastructure issues at the plant, and the owners of the system actually voted to do it.
Just 1 second.
Yeah.
So as you get your information, Jim, if you would, as you're gathering it, as far as what Commissioner Ryder was talking about, if you could inform the board members.
Oh, yeah.
So that
Whatever we send the
we
city
could have
commissioners,
the same
County commissioners,
information.
city commissioners, and, we'll receive the same correspondence.
Just,
Commissioner Harris.
yeah, just one last thing and I know this is where, as I think about it, they get it from Bay County Department of Water and Sewer, which sounds like Bay County, but as we know, it's part of the Road Commission. The Road Commission is a separate, it's hard to get the concept for a lot of people, but it's a separate entity from us. And even though it says, Bay County Department of Water and Sewer, the Road Commission runs it, and the Road Commission is responsible for the water plant. And they take care of everything that happens out there. And I think, like Mr. Barsha said, we floated the bonds, we put the debt out there, and we're making good on the debt, so we floated the bonds so they could build it. But other than that, it's the Road Commission. It's not, so if somebody wants to call somebody, there's your call, so maybe it'll save you guys a couple calls on that end over there, but that's what it is, Bay County Department of Water and Sewer.
Has anybody got the road commission number? We can put that up on the screen and they can call them. So,
Question.
yes, Commissioner
Speaking to
Reed.
the resolution that's about transferring debt from the city to the county, I wonder how much more is that bond to run out at?
I don't know the expiration date on the bond,
I believe there's 3 more years on the bond.
and we've been actually making payment on that debt. It's just that we haven't formally transferred the bond over, and for auditing purposes, that was causing us some issues, so we just needed to make sure that got done. It was part of the original agreement that it would be transferred over, so.
So we are helping the city out by taking over their bond for them.
Yes, as part of the agreement that we entered into in
Helping
2000.
everybody out,
Yeah.
all 14.
Yeah.
Ms. Zimenez, would you have anything to contribute or explain further regarding the bond? Or
Just that there's no additional obligation from any revenues or anything for the county. We already receive them from the Department of Water and Sewer and their transfers that they make to us quarterly. So this is just, instead of paying the city a reimbursement for the bond payment, we'll just be making the payment directly to the Michigan Finance Authority.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I think we have a motion and all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, next we're on item D, grant process for grants $5,000 or less. What is your pleasure on that one?
So,
Support.
I have a motion and support. I think this will streamline the paperwork end of things. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Under item E1, we have the drug testing policy.
So move. Support.
We have a motion and support. Commissioner Krieger.
So, the policies that we have right now, are they insufficient? Are we,
So there are regulations that dictate that if you have positions that have a driver's license, they have to be subject to a registration rule. So this is just added the regulations that we're going to follow.
so my question, with all of a sudden, all these buildings with green crosses popping up throughout our area, and the person has a medical marijuana card, and he's an employee of Bay County that drives a vehicle, how are we going to deal with that?
Our drug testing policy already has, since the inception of the medical marijuana, does not allow that. So if somebody were to test positive, whether they have a medical marijuana card or not, we have a drug-free workplace policy. Because we receive federal grants, we are required to have a drug-free workplace policy under the Drug-Free Workplace Act of 1988.
Right. I just want to make sure that individuals that are out there understand that, you know, we are a drug-free environment.
I do intend to put a memo together. Obviously, there's some legislation that's being proposed right now just to clarify, let the employees know that regardless of what happens with Michigan marijuana, our drug workplace policy will remain intact.
Very good. Thank you.
So what Commissioner Krieger's saying, those people that are applying for the 2 positions or potential 2 positions of the drain commissioner would have CDLs. They would have to go through this new drug testing process.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Coonan.
It's just for CDLs.
Okay, the only changes for the CDL. So we already have some pre-employment drug testing requirements for safety-specific positions, and that was in place already. What we are adding here is the random drug testing for CDL positions only.
Now, how you would determine random?
5. There are 5.
A year?
No, we have 5 CDL.
Okay, but how do you determine to randomly test them?
We outsource it to Covenant or
And what, do they do it on an annual basis, or so each individual is tested once a year? Or
They have a random pool of individuals. We'll join a consortium with
Right,
other employers so that it's not just our 5, and they will be drug tested within the guidelines of the federal regulations.
I think what Commissioner Coonan's getting at is, like I'm a small company, and if I, you know, part of mine is I have to be in a bigger group of employees because I have a small group of employees in that drug testing thing, that to randomly pick, you know, somebody out of a pool of 3, we could end up getting the same person all the time, you see? So they get into a bigger pool of maybe 100 employees in a couple different companies, 5 of them being ours. Once in a while, one of ours would get picked because it's kind of like pulling the name out of a hat. Commissioner Ryder.
Tiffany, is our drug policy part of the collective bargaining agreement with the unions that are represented?
Our current drug policy?
Yes.
No.
They're not?
No.
Then who would, if a individual would test positive, who would represent them? If it's, I mean, I don't understand why the union wouldn't have a say. Part of collective bargaining, they should have a say in the, and I guess I'm questioning why they don't.
So the union has a say in disciplinary, right? So if there were disciplinary actions taken because of a positive drug test, they would then represent the employee based on the disciplinary action, not on a drug testing policy.
Okay, they couldn't challenge the chain of collection and all that goes through it. It's only the remedy that you know, management says.
Yeah, so that there are guidelines set by the state and the federal regulations that follow chain of custody. We don't have any determination of what the chain of custody is in a lab. They handle that on their own.
I understand that. It's who collects the sample, the chain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Covenant, or an outside third party would do that. We wouldn't do that internally.
Okay, and what's their percentage of getting it right?
Getting it right.
Yeah.
The lab.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of what their percentages. I would assume
Could we-
they're pretty high.
Well,
I don't know if us would be able to answer the lab percentage requirements.
I know that there are some that are better than others, that's why I'm asking. We're asked to let Covenant go, because I'd like to know what Covenant's percentage is as far as right and wrong tests, right? And versus somebody else, maybe somebody else in the community does drug testing, right? So I'd like to know where that stands.
I can double check for you.
Thank you.
Maybe she could have that before we finally vote on it at the board meeting. Commissioner Krieger, you had a question?
Thank you. So with us soon to have a driver, be it part-time, that's going to drive this new vehicle with jurors back and forth to the courthouse, would that individual also fall under the random drug testing or not?
If the position requires CDL, which I believe it will because it's a passenger vehicle that carries X amount of people, so they would fall under it.
And that, my understanding was that driver would be part-time, or there may even be more than one driver, so they would all be part of that pool then?
Yeah, they would just be added to the pool.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Commissioner Harris,
I'm good.
you're good now?
I am good now.
Okay. Commissioner Brigade?
Pointing to him over there.
Oh.
I was just going
He
to
keeps
say,
hiding behind this screen over here, you know.
I think last year I attended the ribbon cutting of the new facility that McLaren Bay has on the Saginaw Riverfront at Uptown. And if their rates of accuracy are comparable or identical and their cost would be the same, it would be nice if we could go local, because McLaren Bay has a facility that's pretty much dedicated, I think, to drug testing for private employees, and I'm sure, Commissioner Begic, would you be aware of?
Well, we do testing out at our place too, so, I mean, they have to be accredited, they have to go through the testing, CLIA, whatever regulations, so, you know, Covenant's been around a while. I don't know how we compared in the bidding process, but.
Yeah, I
it
know
costs a
it'd
lot.
probably be whoever submits the lowest bid, but if McLaren was comparable, it might be nice, since they're the largest employer in Bay County, to allow them to, you know, provide a bid as well on securing that work.
I don't think that this would be something, this contract would probably be something that would be going through the RFP process, because I think that it's $50 a year in terms of cost, so it wouldn't be.
And to clarify just a little bit why Covenant is on their agenda today, is that that's who we use for occupational health services currently. And so that's why they're on our agenda currently, because we have a relationship with them. That's who we send them to now. We just are trying to have a consortium.
You want to? Seeing none, I think we got a motion and support. All these log discussions. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Agreement with Covenant to join the Random Drug Alcohol Consortium.
Support.
Any more discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Then we have the update of the Bay County work rules.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Next is the 457 Deferred Compensation Fiduciary Policy Renewal. They make all these things big and long.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Commissioner Kuhn.
I just want to know, when I read through this, maybe I missed something, but is this where we sat in on those two meetings with Nationwide and the other company?
No, I believe that this is the fiduciary liability policy,
Okay.
which is just the same, yeah, it's the same policy that we
It's
enter
just,
into every
okay.
year.
And then we're going to get that selection of those two companies in the future then, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think this is just some cleaning up of some policy things because this board has never voted in the past when they were supposed to vote. So we get our vote on insurance policies now. So, anyone else? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. for the Director of Environmental Affairs and Community Development, the extension of the DNR Phragmites.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. And I applaud Laura for, bringing this to us and making sure that everything is going to move along in these areas. And that Hampton and Tuscola are going to get a little help from this. So, any questions for anybody? Any discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. GIS Manager Partner Agreement with the State of Michigan for elevation contour creation.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on this one? I think it's a great idea. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. 911 Director, Inner Things IoT School Memorandum of Understanding.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Commissioner Coonan.
Wow.
Come on up, Chris. You thought you were gonna get away, didn't you?
Discussion. It said no equipment's gonna be needed, no investment on our part. But how do we control things if it needs to be? I don't know, understand how it happens.
So on the back end, what we want to do is create most likely what we'll do is create a virtual private network, a pipe running through network from their facility, the school facility, to our facility. And we already have existing equipment there that can allow that into the system.
There's no cost in doing that?
No, at this point, there wouldn't be any cost associated with it.
Everything's in place?
Yeah, all the equipment is in place, so imagine you have a firewall and then your router and your switches and all that network equipment. So we're just going to allow, create a virtual private network, a VPN, to hook from one end, from the school to us, so no one can see that information, and then it'll come into our servers.
So we can monitor what's going on in an emergency situation?
Yeah, so the idea is, on the back end for us, knowing that there's 50-plus schools within Bay County, and we've had interest from Bay City Schools in Essexville and in Bangor, Pink County. We haven't reached out to any parochial schools yet, but there's interest there, is identifying with their IT departments which cameras we can have access to in public places. Then identifying, okay, which ones of those do we actually want to have? We're working with law enforcement, and then bring that data into our facility. And then the back end for us, we can view it and access it in some sort of meaningful fashion in a relatively quick way. We have maps. We work with the school systems. We have PDFs of all the school floor plans. So from there, we lay out the cameras in association with those maps. So the dispatcher will get a call for service comes in for that school. Up pops the location information with the school. We'll see a PDF that they click on. They can drill down and open a camera and kind of get a view. So we're trying to figure out the best way to get that access the information in a relatively immediate amount of time. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Krieger.
So there'll have to be an individual that'll see to it that all this is all put together, correct?
Yes.
There's no expense in the labor because that's already an employee doing another job?
Yeah, that's currently will fall to our IT department. Jason from our IT department, in conjunction with Brandon and Brian, are working on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Thank you, Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Director of Administrative Services, we have vehicle donation to Veterans Van Program.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. See, you thought you might have to answer. Director of Recreation and Facilities, boy, she's got a lot here. Under J1, we have the Bay Area Community Foundation Grant Award.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next is the Civic Arena 2018 fee
So
schedule.
moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. And thank you for modifying that and showing the difference or the increase. That was real good, Kristen. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under item 3, we have the golf course, Fisher Contracting Company, Pond at Golf Course.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Commissioner Ryder. He was fast.
I guess, first of all, I'm interested in how this came about. Did we have a sign out there, clay for sale? How did this happen?
Fisher Contracting came to us, they have the contract with consumers, and they have to cover the ash piles with so much clay. And they actually approached Dan, and so they gave us a proposal that they could dig us a pond after they did a soil sample and pay us for the clay that they removed from our property.
So Fisher's owns the golf course.
But
They don't have clay, right? I mean, is it logistics? Is it, I guess I'm wondering if they do own a course, right?
Sure.
I think more than one.
I think more than one. That's why I'm kind of amazed. If it's just logistics, I guess maybe I understand that.
I think so, yes. I think that's definitely part of it. On top of the fact that we have the soil that they're looking for, and I don't know what the soil is up at their golf course, but
Stone.
they specifically need the clay from the ground that we luckily have.
And does this in any way change the integrity of the course? I mean, these golf courses are designed. You know, I could never tell you who designed Bay County Golf Course, but I'm sure.
With these guys.
Yeah.
They're the experts.
Basically, my name's Jeremy, I'm the new superintendent. So, just so you know.
Keep reminding
I was
me.
here before. Just want to make sure you know.
No hat.
No hat. Dan and Tim, the ex-superintendent, they had discussed this with Fishers. It is pretty much it's a logistics thing because they don't want to haul, the more miles they put on, the more it costs them to do this contract. So obviously the more money they lose. And as far as the golf course is concerned, the area that they'd like to dig it is pretty much behind where the old barn was, correct? So it's kind of a vacant, big field, if you will. So it really wouldn't change anything unless you're a terrible slicer off of number 8, you're gonna be in a pond. It's pretty much a dead area, if you will, and the soil samples they had was the clay that they needed, and being just down the street. Actually, I don't know whose facility it is, but 2 doors down from us, they're building one. It's a farm of some kind. They're doing one right there behind, 2 doors down from us right now. So to cap off the ash piles, they got to have the clay. And for them to haul, I think they did one at Bay Landscaping also. So it's just also it's close enough for them to get rather than haul miles away, to help them save money.
And I know that mineral rights and stuff like that, I know they have, we lease to whoever the oil rights to, that it does not impact that at all, correct?
Not at all. It's nowhere near, well, it's somewhat near one of them, but it won't affect that in any means. And as far as the integrity of the course goes, it will only increase that.
And do they do soil samples as well, or is that required? Is that a permitted process? And does Fisher do the?
Fisher will be handling the permit process.
They will do their own permit process. They did the soil testing early spring. They were down, and that's exactly what they're looking for.
That's all right, thank you.
Commissioner Cooner.
I had the same questions Commissioner Ryder did, and I had a few minutes with Kristen and Mr. Pat. Dan, I'm sorry. It's all right. I don't get out there enough. And you answered my question, but the question I had is, hey, we got this big TV here, and we all must have those questions, because I didn't know where this was, but it was off 8 where I've been before, over those trees. And it is kind of it looks like a driving range or something. So why won't we use our GIS, put it on a thumb drive, put it on that TV, everybody can see what's going on? And you know, I was suggesting too that we should put our agenda on that TV as well, so people who are watching can see it, or we can see it if something were to happen with our computers, so.
Like today.
But no, I think it's and then talking to Kristen, she's gonna have a great plan put together to get some quotes on some drainage on some of those holes that we need, so if we get a little extra money, and we can drain some of them holes and make it more playable when it's wet, then that's even better for the course. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be quite an enhancement because, at least on what? I think 2 of the holes will become an additional water hazard, right?
Basically number 8. Yeah, number 7 would so much.
Probably not too much.
If you do it on number 9, it's not a good, you're not in a good situation there.
Not good, right? Okay. So, anyone else?
I just have a question for the guys while they're here. The reaction I've gotten from the golfers and members of the golf league is very positive. They're very excited about having a pond because first and foremost, it'll help drain when we have water pooling on 3 of the holes, I believe, or at least 2. And then I believe Fisher Contracting will provide landscaping as well as possibly the installation of tile to make sure that the drainage is functioning for long into the future. And as Commissioner Ryder mentioned, they currently own Bucks Run and I think 2 or 3 other golf courses. So they do have experience in terms of landscaping the pond to make it attractive. But I think one of the other benefits of having this pond is, I think in 2016, the greens were really rough out there. I don't know if you remember that, Dan? But a lot of the greens were parched and some didn't have any grass on them for, you know, a couple of foot square. And that pond might be able to use to irrigate if we have a drought in the summertime. And could you maybe comment a little bit on how having a 16-foot pond, is it approximately 5 acres in size, approximately a little less, a little shy? But it would hold a considerable volume of water, and would that be useful in the future to, you know, preventing some of the damage caused by, you know, going 3 weeks without rain or something?
Yeah, it definitely could. The plus side is with the bay up, with the Great Lakes up, the ditches around the course are full right now. And pretty much, Tim and I discussed it when he left, you know, when the water's up like that, you have an unlimited supply, but you never know when the cycle comes back around and goes down. So definitely, yeah, eventually you could have, you know, we discussed possibly tying that in somehow with submersible pump systems or whatever to get to our irrigation ponds. It's that, you know, you could always, I don't know if that's a good way of spending the money because we have so much water currently, but you can always pump it over land if it comes down to it and move it to your irrigation ponds if you have to. It'd be quite a ways, but there's ways you can do it. So yeah, if in the event the Great Lakes drop again one of these days, and hopefully not in my lifetime I see it, but if they do, yeah, it is an option that you can do that.
Overall, you think it'd be a positive addition to the course?
I do, yeah, definitely. You know, especially the gain of, let's face it, the stuff's not cheap out there to purchase and to do projects. It's a gain of revenue that you don't have to dig deep into your fund equity or your pockets to come up with it for certain things. You know, drainage project, it's hard to tell, like, I don't know the exact amount of revenue we gain from it because, you know, until they get in there for anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000 possibly.
Yeah, that's one thing hasn't been mentioned. Approximately 104,000 cubic feet of soil and clay would be removed and at $1 per cubic foot. So it would generate about 104 cubic yards, excuse me, yeah. Sorry, misspoke. That would generate about 104,000. A small piece of that would be used for some of the tiling, but it would generate probably 70,000 to 80,000 into a capital fund, so that in the future, if equipment were to break down we wouldn't have to come before the board for a budget adjustment and a loan for the golf course, but would have a small capital fund, not to be used for personnel costs, simply equipment maintenance or replacement, correct?
Yep.
And very
Or, you know,
judicious
like
use
your-
of that.
Your drainage project, you know, after being out there now for a couple months, obviously there's, and Dan, him and I have discussed, you know, the amount of revenue that he knows they lose. You know, you get an inch of rain out there, the tile's old, everything out there's old. And you get an inch of rain, you could easily be shut down for a couple of days. It's a revenue loss. So taking money from this, hopefully to do some drainage projects, lift stations, and that to clear some of the water off. In the long run, you're gaining, hopefully gaining to be able to, even though you get a big rain event, you still be able to get out there. The wall-to-wall cart paths out there help a lot in order to get the events going. But once again, if you get too much water, you know, people in golf carts do strange things. So they love water if they can see if they got it out there.
Well, in addition to that approximately 5 acres that pond is on right now, basically all you guys out there do is cut it.
Yeah, it would.
You're just cutting 5 acres, you know,
Definitely.
twice a week.
Yep, small portion of labor reduction, exactly,
Yeah.
and wear and
So,
tear
I
and
mean,
equipment.
we're
It's a
going-
couple hours to cut that field,
Right.
paying somebody to do it, so.
So
yeah.
you
I don't
get
think
that
it would
over
hurt.
time too.
I definitely just I don't think it would hurt anything, like I said, other than it's dead space, unless at some point you had another idea, put a hotel in or something, I don't know, but, so,
We'll have glass bottom boats.
there you go.
Watch all those fish that come. So anyone else? Oh, Bob, there you go.
You think you can keep that 4.5 acre by 16-foot pond with water in it? Or you're gonna get the water when the bay goes back down, which it always does?
I'm not sure what the water table is out there. I know, I'm going solely on what they did from what I've learned on over at Bay Landscaping, the one that they dug. I remember John said that the water, I don't know where the water table is.
Oh, the ditch used to be dry when the bay was out. So I'm concerned on where you're gonna get the water to keep that pond at least wet. Because otherwise there become other problems when it gets dry. And
But you'd have that situation on,
that's a big hole.
true, but you'd have that situation on your irrigation ponds. I don't know where they got their water from before, when, I think Tim had told me they did some damming in the ditches and actually put in another pump in lower and stuff. Ultimately, you know, it's a 50-50 shot. If that pond's got water in it and you do lose water, you have water that you can irrigate with for a while, so you don't have to purchase it. Your only other option is purchasing it. But when it's gone, pretty much no matter where.
My point is when the ditch goes dry, so will the pond.
Yep,
And
so will the other
We
ponds.
really can't afford to buy the water to pump into a pond.
Right, but you still need your water to irrigate with that you have to purchase anyway, and if it gets to that point, you got issues more than worrying about that pond drying up. Your irrigation ponds will be dried up too.
Well, we don't fill up the irrigation ponds we have now, so I would hope that this has been planned real well. And the second thing that's concerning me is that currently, I believe the golf course owes the general fund $60,000 or $80,000. So that $100,000, all of it can be put away into equipment.
That's beyond me.
So, if I could, we had, before this even came about, we had the plan, we would be paying back that loan that we have this year or last year, just as we have done in the past. So by the time they come out and start digging in the fall and finish it up in the spring, we will have paid that back.
When's the last time the golf course has made a profit?
2 years ago. Not last year, but my
No,
first
she
year.
didn't.
Rochelle?
Rochelle's here, she can tell you, she keeps the books for the golf course. It hasn't made a profit in several years.
And then last year we paid it back. So I think it's been a few years.
I can tell you from my experience, this being my third season, we easily lost out on $50,000 in revenue from rain the first year. Last year with the big floods that we had in June was at least $70,000 to $80,000. So by utilizing this money that we could gain by building this pond and putting in drainage, we will see a lot more revenue at the course.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I just had a question for Rochelle. 2 years ago was when the board authorized the purchase of the 20 or 22 golf carts. Is that that you're referring to?
No, a couple of years ago, we needed to borrow money just to make sure that we weren't in a deficit for our retained earnings at year end. So last year, we paid it back in 2017, but we're in need of borrowing that money for the golf carts last year. So in 16, we borrowed for operations, and 17, we borrowed for the carts.
Before my time, sorry.
Commissioner Kuhn.
That's why I'd like to see, I hear so many stories on, we made money, we lost money, and I guess it depends upon what sheet you're looking at, after you back out indirect costs that everybody pays, or things like this, then it's another number. To me, are they digging, when they dig the hole, don't they dig the hole till there's water?
Yeah, I mean, they anticipate hitting the water table well before they get to what they anticipate getting down to, the 16 feet.
Yeah, but at some point too, I'd like to see maybe Rochelle, next Tuesday, you can give us what the golf course owes back to the general fund for 2000, whether it's, I don't know if we borrowed any early on this year just to get up and running, but you were talking about borrowing for retained earnings. Let's everybody find out where we're at. I know it's not a moneymaker if we can, and I think you guys are doing a good job out there. I really do. I think golf is a dying sport. It was up here that's going downhill now because I've said this forever and ever. You don't have a middle class anymore, and you don't have the base that can spend $40 by the time you pay your greens fees and a Coke and a bag of chips or whatever. With me, another dozen balls. There's not that money there. So golf courses aren't great money makers. Does it offer something to the community? I think it does. So I would like it, and I think it's run well. And I'd like to see it pay its bills. That'd be great, but we don't know that because I hear stories, 100 different stories. Let's find out where we're at so we all know. Okay, so maybe next week you can give us some more information for how we're doing, how we did in 17, because those numbers should all be in. And then how we're doing 18 this year. It would be great to see them.
Commissioner Grant.
Thank you. Could we possibly, while you're looking up these figures, maybe go back another 5 years at that, and give us exactly, because by then the paybacks and that should have taken effect, and then we know, well, here, we lost this much, or we gained this much, maybe go back 5 years or whatever you can.
We have.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we have temporary easement waiver with the city of Bay City for First Street construction project.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that issue? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under K, we have the health officer, under 1, acceptance of the DEQ grant funds for the surface water quality monitoring.
Support.
We have a motion and support, and I think this is great that we're getting this additional money. Maybe we can find out a source or two. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under 2, we have the acceptance of the BACF grant funding for the community health assessment.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? Gee, you're getting Joel off easy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, under L, we have the Director of Department of Aging. Under 1, we have the agreement and use of Riverside Activity Center parking lot for the July 4th fireworks festival.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? I think it's a great idea. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is Senior Services Employment Program, Worksite Agreement.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under M, we have payables. What is your?
So moved.
Support. Paying the bills? We have a motion and support. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under N, we have finance officer. Then under 1, the analysis of the general fund equity. Motion
Move to receive.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion received and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under 2, we have the Executive Directive 1007-11. Motion to receive would be in order.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under 3, we have the Bay Metro Support and Services. What is your pleasure on that one?
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. I think if we can help other governmental agencies, it's great. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next is referrals. I don't believe we have any. I don't think we have any unfinished business. Any new business? Closed session?
No, Mr. Chair.
Miscellaneous, anyone? Motion granted.
Just as a point of interest, June the 14th through the 16th, Pink Onion Cheese Festival. Our race is on the 16th, 6 p.m., 2 mile, 6:30, 5 mile, 7:30, the Little Mises race. Fireworks is Saturday at dusk. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. This would be a good warm-up for the beach wellness race, and I'm sure.
Thank you. Which would be June 23rd. I'm hoping Mother Nature will give us some decent weather that Saturday morning, so come on out and take on Tobacco.
And how can they sign up?
And if the numbers, it's tough to generate numbers. Everybody, just like everybody used to have a golf scramble for some sort of raising of money. Everybody has races, so you're competing against somebody all the time. If our numbers stay consistent, that's great. But ultimately, we accomplished our goal, Bob and Ernie, and we all created a scenario where the folks out at State Park, the DNR, found that it was wise to maintain that beach. We've been doing it
12 years.
Well, it's the 12th year, but we were working on that before.
Yes.
Probably 15 years, and the beach is beautiful. So what we want to do, our whole goal was to just make people aware of the gem that we had out there. We may only have 4,000 or 5,000 runners. 4,000 or 5,000 runners. Huh?
Yeah, that would be nice.
We may only have a couple hundred runners, but the point is, we already accomplished our goal was to make that area accessible for the public.
Right, and they can sign up to run where?
Runsignup.com. We're getting them every day. People are signing up online, making it easy, and
People coming to town.
And Joel, you're gonna keep the beach open, right?
And along with that, I think there's a race at the Auburn Corn Fest, July 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. I think it's usually on that Saturday morning, a 5K race, so you can do a lot of running the next few weeks.
So that's Corn Fest, July 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Unfortunately, it conflicts with the fireworks festival this year, but back and forth.
Oh, well. Anyone else?
Yeah, Commissioner Lutz, just a couple things. I didn't mean to talk so much at today's meeting. Want to compliment all the people, especially Commissioners Krieger and Coonan and others who have worked, and Mr. Redmond on Bay City State Park, and the full board as well. In a moment, if the Health Director, Joel Strauss, could comment a little bit on the beach closure we had this last weekend. I know so many people have worked so hard on that when the announcement goes out, but there's a couple other things I want to mention, and then we'll get to Joel. I know I had a discussion with him, and there is some money available. I did see an article in the Free Press, or, well, I believe it's Sunday edition, so it's combined, but a large article on Lake St. Clair and the issue they have with algae blooms. They had 1,000 volunteers take samples of water, and they were able to identify, they have the processor a little bit further along than we are. I think a total of about $3 billion from the federal government has invested toward Lake St. Clair, trying to address that long-running algae issue, which also causes beach closures. But they do have a way to identify human source as well as animal or seagull, so other bird sources.
Geese.
In terms of geese
Cameron.
that contribute to the E. coli issue. And Joel, if you could respond to that in a minute. Other than the last two items, I'd like to mention MHT had 2 meetings with the tenants on Center Ridge Arms. Meetings went very well. I want to thank Commissioner Durancheck, Director Gillette, Corporation Counsel Johnson. It went it went very well. The people are excited. If the RAD conversion is approved by HUD and MISTA, we'd be very excited about the changes out there. And I'd say it was universally, the people are very pleased with the exception of one cantankerous skeptic. But that wasn't bad considering the number we had. Refreshments were served and people seemed to be very excited about that possibility. So I want to thank them. And then I wanted to also compliment our Bay County Animal Control team, Manager Mike Halstead and the dedicated staff. I got a call first from a constituent who was concerned, a local healthcare employee who had heard a rumor that 40 animal dogs were confiscated from a home in Williams Township and were systematically euthanized. And so contacted the Director Gillette, and he contacted Mr. Halstead. And good news, it was 23 blue tick hounds, which are very valuable. 20 of them were in exceptional health. One had ear mites, and I think the other had a worm problem that they were going to address with minor medications. All 23 of them have been spoken for and have been adopted. We had the Humane Society from Detroit reach out to actually get those hounds. We did, though, insist that the hounds be spayed and neutered because we don't want to have puppy mills. The actual puppies are worth about $1,100, but we don't want the animals, being treated as simply manufacturing puppies. We want them to be hopefully adopted into loving homes and, individually. And the individual who owned them was diagnosed with a very, very serious health issue that could be most likely as terminal, and willingly contacted animal control and asked for help in disposing of the animals in a humane way through adoption. So I wanted to compliment our team over at Animal Control, all of them, as well as Director Gillette. And then I think that's all that I have, but we'll await after Director Gillette speaks. I'd like to hear from Mr. Strauss about the money we have available and how far we are along or away from being able to determine the source of this bacteria, because everyone's worked so hard, and we have many leaders here on the board, and the whole board has helped with the Bay City State Park, raising the awareness and striving to improve it. And then when we have media coverage about severe bacterial contamination that closes the park. And it was very brief, by the way, but we know you have to do your job as health director to protect the public from being exposed to bacteria unnecessarily. So, but if you could update us, Director Strauss, that'd be appreciated.
Just real quick too on those hounds, it was a joint effort along with Midland Humane Society, Bay County Humane Society, Iosco County, Saginaw, their animal control. It was a wonderful joint effort. They all chipped in, and it was a tremendous success overall. So I also wanted to give them their props. So.
In regards to the beach closures, last week, if you recall, there was pretty high winds on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, actually all the way through the weekend. Excuse me. And in our conversations with the staff at Saginaw Valley State University's laboratory, they had indicated that the wave levels were very high and the sediment was actually churning, that the turbidity of the water was quite bad, so to speak. So that's what we're theorizing, that really that's what caused, because there was no other rain events, significant rain events either in the last week that would cause significant amount of runoff or overflows or anything like that. In regards to the source tracking, the additional funding that we brought forth today, the DEQ the beach testing office got with us about 2 to 3 weeks ago and informed us that we were going to be receiving additional money. Now, if you remember last year, the additional funding was for the rapid testing. This is for specifically source tracking. But in order to do the source tracking, we have to do extra tests because essentially what happens is they take the samples, they actually filter those samples, and if the samples are bad or they have an elevated account of E. coli, then they will actually take and freeze those, those filters and save them for a later date to actually do the source tracking analysis. At this point in time, I believe that they, at the laboratory at Saginaw Valley, they do have bovine and human sources to test against. I think that they're doing some final testing on the bird markers, but once they have those, which we anticipate at the end of summer, the early part of fall, they will actually systematically begin to test all of the filters that have been frozen to see what types of sources those are. Those tests are scheduled to go from the end of this calendar, through the end of this calendar year, all the way into next year as well. The contract is actually into December 31st, 2019. So it's going to take a while to do that, but you know, and it's a time-consuming process. I know that they've got to get some standardization set with their methods to make sure that they're in line with EPA and other regulatory agencies. But that's essentially what we're going to be able to do. And hopefully fairly soon, in a few months, we'll be able to start to tell, you know, what the sources of the E. coli was.
Commissioner Wright.
So, is it the results posted? Do you get the results? And I guess first of all, and do you share the results? And does SDSU does the testing themselves? They do the samples?
So they take the samples,
Okay.
they run the analysis, they run the numbers on there, and we've also we're also having them this year actually put the sample results in.
And so if somebody wanted to review those results?
The results,
Yes.
historically, if you go to Michigan Beach Guard, you can just Google Michigan Beach Guard, and there's a map of Michigan, and it's broken down by county, and you can click on Bay County beaches, and it's got 10 public testing sites on there. Now, we don't test all of those 10 sites, but I think it's the 5 major beach sites, plus the Collin River and the Saginaw River as well.
I gotta say, from what I understand, it's been really tough to access on that beach guard.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get the information that you need. And who do we talk to about that? And so we can actually get the posted results, because it's not evident by going on the beach club.
Okay. I will be more than happy to have my staff instruct. We can do an instructional video. We can actually come here to the Board of Commissioners and provide instruction on how to obtain those results. And we can even provide instruction on how to get those results sent to your phone via an RSS feed as well.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, one last comment, and that is, along with the aforementioned and their tireless efforts on enhancing the Bay City State Park, there's someone in the back row there, Director Ogar, who has devoted the last 15 years of her county service to securing grants for reef rocks, the boardwalks, and working to hold the Department of Environmental Quality's feet to the fire in terms of cooperation with beach grooming on a daily basis, lobbying the DNR for, along with the commission, for increased resources to do daily grooming as opposed to the somewhat irregular grooming that used to occur, and it was very difficult to keep the beach in pristine condition. But I wanted to acknowledge her role, and Director Strauss, we know it is what it is, but we definitely, as we move forward, want to work to try to prevent those beach closures, because, you know, we don't want the public to get the perception that the county is unconcerned, or, you know, that not be aware of all of the effort that so many people have put forward, Friends of the State Park and many others, and the commissioners and others that have worked so hard, and Director Ogar, in terms of trying to see the improvements we have so far. But thank goodness it was a temporary closure, and I don't know what's happened since hopefully people are coming back. I don't know what kind of attendance drop-off we saw once the water was, you know, determined to be laden with bacteria and
I do want to mention one thing too, is that that if there is a closure on, if the numbers are bad, from a Thursday testing, we receive those on a Friday, we will go back out on Friday to test to see if we can open the beach back up on Saturday. That was a question from last year, and we've already made contingency efforts for that.
I appreciate that very much.
Your runners will let. Anyone else? Well, the next item is.
Move to adjourn.
Always in order.
We have a motion and support. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.